Welcome to the Industry-Born podcast. I'm Cullen Reichart, your host, and today we'll be covering almost anything related to cannabis. Awesome. Hey, Cody, welcome. Appreciate you taking the time to be on the Industry-Born podcast, man.
Yeah, thank you for the invite. It's crazy. I never would have thought 2 years ago I'd be doing stuff like this. So I love the
Right?
opportunity.
Yeah. I mean, I've been in the industry a bit by myself, but yeah, a podcast, I don't know. So you did, you're a veteran, yeah?
hmm Yeah,
Yeah,
did
thank you.
yeah, of course. I heard you were Navy also, right? From what I
Yeah, it
understand.
was. That's right. That's right.
Yeah, so yeah, I
All
did
41.
yeah, Camp Pendleton out in SoCal, and I lived out there for a
Nice.
long time before I moved back to South Carolina.
Yeah. Well, good for you, man. Really, really appreciate it. I love my vets.
hmm
You know, we there's only one way into this club, and and there's really no way out. So,
Yeah.
yeah. So I think it's special group of people, and I always like to make sure that we pay attention to that when we have the opportunity. But I was reading through your stuff, and I think you know you've been kind of fighting a good fight over there, uh, starting out in the hemp space. Yeah.
hmm Yeah, I mean, essentially my journey kind of started there's always reasons for why we do things, and like the one cool thing I love about the cannabis industry is like whenever you go to trade shows, no matter what part of the country, what the flavor of the show is, like everyone there is all it's all the same thing. Like it changed our lives for the better, helped someone else we knew, and everyone's happy. So it's I mean, I guess
There's that.
I can just ride into how I started and all that stuff and go from there. That's cool.
Yeah, I mean, listen. I mean, look. It's like we've all had a kind of an interesting journey.
hmm
It's a new deal, right? And
Yep.
I think what people find interesting is what journey, what the different journeys are like, and the inspiration is always kind of cool. I was kind of driven this way because I appreciate business more than anything, and this was an
hmm
opportunity for me to impact people's success, and that's kind of been my driver. But I used cannabis for years, and I grew for a while, but I wasn't any good at it. So, so I got better. I'm better with machines, man.
Yeah. Well, that's
But
like my number two guy that he left Oregon and came back September last year, and have known each other through high school, the Marine Corps, and he was always he's always been very cannabis friendly before and after the Marine Corps, and he was like, dude, you were always like, I'm better than that. I can't smoke cannabis up until like 2017, and all it takes is like like my mother, she had a surgical accident in 2014.
oh wow,
Single mom, worked at Costco all of her life, knee surgery, and she had a hip surgery and accidentally clamped her femoral nerve in her right leg for too long,
oh
and
geez,
she woke up with the leg paralyzed and in extreme pain, and she 130 milligrams of opioids, Flexerols. She was at the point where no appetite, barely drinking water, she could barely speak, and she was always a cannabis user without telling me, and I always kind of joke like, "Mom, we could have had like bonding opportunities in high school if you were just cool about it."
right,
um, but someone randomly got her a brownie, and she got appetite back. So I was living
oh
in
wow,
Cali at the time, and I was like, "Ding, ding, ding." Let me find ways to get her stuff over there. And
yeah,
within 3 months, she was off all those opioids. And within 6 to 8 months, she was back working at Costco again.
wow,
And seeing that, and I've lost a couple friends to suicides, alcoholism, pain pills, stuff like that. I was still anti-cannabis until probably 2017. I was having like the best year of my life at the time, kind of enjoying life a little bit too much. And, at the time, I was using alcohol a lot as a coping mechanism. That's like in the military, that's like the go-to. Like,
that's
you're
it,
upset
man.
about something, here's a fifth, drink it, right?
Yeah, that's it, man.
And I got in some legal trouble, got arrested. Probably one of the best things that's ever happened to me in terms of like, hey, you really need to focus on what you're doing with yourself. And I had
Yeah,
an army buddy of mine, he big smoker, and he was just like, dude, just try it. And I remember talking to somebody, I was like, why do you want to smoke? And I'm like, being brainwashed, especially from the South. Like, I'm afraid of that loss of control. I don't want to do this and that. And the girl was just like, well, you drink until you black out. That's not loss of control. right?
Yeah, I just know how to do that better. That's what.
Yeah, exactly. So I remember he sat there and we smoked for the first time, and like my first time getting super high. I remember just looking at him going, "How is this illegal?
Yeah.
How is this illegal and alcohol isn't?" And that's,
Right.
for me, that was just a pivotal changing moment. And 2000, I was like researching on it. I started doing home grows. I was living in San Diego at the time after the Marine Corps. I lived
Well,
out there for 12 years,
yeah,
doing
I
some
lived
home
there for quite a while
grow.
myself.
Yeah. What part?
Oh, you were in Lemon Grove,
Oh, I was in Logan Heights.
Logan Heights. Okay,
Yeah.
yeah, I was in
Yeah.
Chula Vista. My sons were both born in San Diego. That's where I did my military time, and
Okay.
then yeah. So I'm very familiar with that area.
Yeah. Humberto's favorite taco shop.
Yeah, yeah, man. You know
Yeah.
it. Actually, before we left, we were going to Vallarta, which is
Hmm.
they have a fried cheese burrito. Oh my god,
Hmm. Yeah,
unbelievable.
that's the one thing about living in San Diego for so long. It's like whenever I go anywhere else for tacos, I'm a snoob. I'm like, what is
Yeah,
this?
yeah, you're totally not gonna get what you need or want.
Nope,
That's for sure.
just disappointment.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, such a snob. It's okay. It's okay.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, it was essentially 2018. Or no, 2020. I was looking at getting back to South Carolina because you're going to jail for a couple of years here still, right? Super,
Yeah.
super against it, and just that seeing how it's changed people's lives for the better and how it's just so stigmatized. I was like, all right, well, in the hemp space, so I applied to get a permit. Everything just kind of worked out last minute because that's how my life goes. It's last minute everything. And I got over here and I started growing indoor hemp flower. I built my whole place by hand, 2,000 square foot
Wow.
roughly, because no one in the state at the time was growing indoor flower. So I was like, niche, go. And
Yeah.
it's been a wild ride. And now I'm like the advisor
So
of like
for
how
that,
the industry needs to work in the cannabis industry. So it's wild.
that's crazy, man.
Mhm.
That's a really long jump in a short period of time.
Yeah.
That's pretty crazy. I think it's interesting to me how fast it's gone in state to state, and how much ground we've gained, but we're still kind of missing quite a bit. But anyway, with hemp, so you said you grew indoor flower hemp. Was
Hmm.
that for smokable flower
Smokable. Yeah.
or
And
yeah?
yeah. And
So
then, and then go ahead. I'm
go ahead.
sorry. I was like, I was growing indoor smokable flower because like I was, no one was growing it. I went, before I did anything, I did my research, went around to all the stores there. I'm like, what are you missing? Like, well, we can only get this stuff from out of state. We want something in state. Started, built the place, started growing. First harvest is done. But at that time I was like, oh man, this is great. Now I'm just like, that was trash, but cool. Everyone liked it. But luck of the draw, when I got it cured and I got it tested and everything was good, the attorney general in our state released a memorandum saying that hemp flower is illegal because it looks just like cannabis flower, thus it's illegal. and
What kind of shit is that? So toy guns are illegal too.
yeah, well, they essentially, I
Toy
kind of
machine
said
guns. I'm
something.
sorry.
Yeah, I kind of, I've learned to draw back saying things on the internet in a public forum because I said something bad about the attorney general for saying that. And next thing you know, we have a certain police unit at my farm a couple days later, and they're trying to like raid and take everything. And they're like, the cops, they're just told to be there. Like they don't
Yeah,
have
yeah,
anything
yeah.
against it. And I was
I
just
mean,
like, why is this illegal? And they're like, well, according to this. I'm like, well, all of this is legal. I can show you all the tests. And I'm like, and if it's illegal, wouldn't it be on the South Carolina list of controlled substances? I don't see hemp flower there. So like, two things can happen. You can arrest me and you can get sued, or you can walk away, right? And it's just been from there. That's where my politicalness went. I was just like, okay,
oh
so
wow, man,
who
you got
watch?
shoved right into it.
Yeah, I was like, for me, it was just like because the law enforcement in the South in general, they have a lot of influence and power, and it was to me,
Yeah.
it's who watches the watchmen, right? They're just kind of saying and doing things as they please. That's not, I didn't join the military to, spread democracy right across the country. They come back to the United States, and it's just like, we're, for how criminal it is to have cannabis on you here. I'm like, that's not free, right? Like how dare me go over there and come back here and it's worse in that aspect. So
Yeah. Well, it is kind of crazy. I mean, when you serve, I don't know. I was connected to it in like, this is the American thing. This is the right thing to do. And why wouldn't
hmm
anybody want to live like we live? And then to go around the world and see how people actually live,
hmm
and realize that no one else really does. And then come back here and start seeing, well, maybe we don't actually live like we think we live, with
exactly
this type
right.
of craziness, I had we had my company was raided early on, and they took my truck and the guns that were in my truck,
hmm
and the guy's like, "Well, how do I know you didn't buy it with drug money?" I'm like, "How do you know I did? What
Exactly.
the fuck, man? You gotta. This is not like
It's
you.
it's supposed to be innocent till proven guilty, not guilty
Correct,
until
right?
proven innocent, right?
No, no, it's take your shit, and then we'll
hmm
worry about the innocent guilty thing later." I'm like, this
Yeah.
is such a fucking asinine way of dealing with it, and you know, I mean, that pushed me really hard to go further. But I didn't become politically active because we weren't fighting the cannabis fight. We were fighting, we were fighting business, and it's like, you know, we've been always on the outside, ostracized a little bit because of the cannabis connection, right? It's just like,
hmm
whatever.
Yeah.
I
You're a machine. You're a machine business, not a
Yeah,
plant
yeah,
touching business, right?
yeah.
So,
I'm literally, if you walk in my shop, you'd be like, oh yeah, this is like a sheet metal shop. How
yeah.
weird.
But it's just that connection. Like, I mean,
The
even for
connection.
me in the hemp space, it took me 8 months to find a bank, right? And I'm like,
Oh yeah.
it's completely legal, and they're like, I don't know, and I'm like, all right.
Yeah, yeah,
It,
yeah, right.
and it essentially came down to like asking friends of friends, like who knows bankers, and it's like this one small bank, and I'm like, I just need somewhere to put my money, and they're just like, sure, come on in, we'll
Yeah,
take your money, please. Um, but I mean, I can't imagine, like, I would assume your accounts get frozen too, just because you're
yeah.
working
We've been
with,
kicked out. We've been kicked out of the best,
yeah,
and the last one didn't even give us like 14 days. Like, what the fuck do you do in 14 days with a check?
yeah. It's
Give me
it's
my
almost
cash.
like
Give me my money, not a fucking check. Like
yeah,
I'm completely ass out with a check. There's nothing I can do.
yeah,
Right? You close my bank. What do I do with a check?
yeah. I have, yeah. Well, you have to go down like Western Union, right, to get
Yeah,
a
yeah.
cash advance
And
off of
that's a
it.
yeah, it's a big check, and you're gonna get fucking stung if you go to there. That's for
Yeah.
sure.
I heard, I was listening to a talk a couple of weeks ago, and they said, yeah, because I've had other business experience before I did this, and they said, 1 year in cannabis is like 5 years in any other industry. And I'm like, on a stress level and how difficult it is to do anything, completely agree. Because
Yeah.
it's just, we have to take, as I tell people, they think the cannabis industry as a whole, it's like this, you know, oh, there's criminals going clean and this and that. I'm like, it is the most regulated, strictest, industry in the world. Like you
Yeah.
can't, there's nothing with more rules and hoops I have to jump through to just to work. All right. Um, but that's, unfortunately, it's not going to get any easier anytime soon.
No, it
I
doesn't
mean,
appear to be. Yeah. Um, it doesn't appear to be. I mean, they keep saying stupid shit like, "Well, we're gonna, safe access and blah blah blah," and it's not happening yet.
hmm
We don't get lending. Like, I got a place to put my money in, but I can't really take advantage
yeah.
of traditional financing or stuff that a normal business would be able to do. So it's
Yeah,
kind
for
of a
me,
pain.
it's still private investors. It was either my money or my friend's money, essentially. And then, we thought we're going to have the cannabis bill this year, but I'm a South Carolina college fan, so I'm used to saying there's always next year.
It's always
So
next year.
yeah, it was just I don't know if you're following, but it really looked like South Carolina we're going to get medical before Georgia and North Carolina, and everyone was like, wow, right? And then it
Yeah.
just, if it would have at least got, because it got to the House for the first time in 8 years, and if it would have died on the floor in a debate in a vote, that's like going out on my feet instead of like being, just shot down. And
Yeah.
essentially, as soon as it got to the floor, the Speaker of the House and I forget the term. It's like because he's leaving, so he's the next speaker. Just basically ruled it as it's unconstitutional because it's a medical bill, but there was an amendment added for a 6% sales tax to fund the program essentially to pay our Department of Health to run it. and they ruled it as, well, that's revenue generating, so it needs to start in the House, not the Senate, and they just killed the bill right there. And
Fuck.
we had representatives going, well, you know, I can look up certain things. So I'm pretty sure if that's unconstitutional, parking tickets and speeding tickets are all unconstitutional now too, because all those started in the
Yeah.
Senate also. So everyone, it's kind of everyone's been calling and texting me. I'm so sorry. Like I know you've been putting a lot of work into it, and I'm like, I don't know. Like what happened was bigger than cannabis. It was, you have the House and the Senate are really like against or more separated than ever now in our state because of that. Like the whole Senate
Yeah.
was mad at the House for why that happened. And I tell people, it's not stopping me. Charleston is pretty liberal when it comes to it, but there's nothing really in paper about decrim. So that's like my next thing. I have a couple meetings set up with police chiefs in Charleston, North Charleston, to try to decriminalize it on a somewhat level. So at least we don't have to worry about that.
Yeah. It's hard. My dad was in it back when they were uh, my dad was in it back early in California when we're going through all the kind of working it out,
Mm,
and he had blessings from a local sheriff when he was up in Lake County, and they were taking care of him. And I remember sitting down with him, like, all right, dude, so this is the deal, man. The only thing you really can't do is go across the state line. Like, don't
mm,
do that, right?
mm,
Sure enough, fucking yeah, he did it. So he got fucking wrapped up. But
mm,
you know, but the laws were such that that was kind of county by county almost. And it sounds like you guys might have to do a little bit of that as well. It's really interesting that they're still struggling with it. I mean, you're not the only state struggling,
yeah.
obviously, but you would expect like at this time, and it's not. I don't know. I mean, there's conservative states that I wouldn't have expected to go and embrace it, and they have, and so I don't know. I don't know what's holding anybody up from it right now. I mean, it's been like 65% of the population says it's okay, and
Mm.
that's not like massive, but I mean that wins you a vote. I mean, it wins you the presidency by a long ways, right? So
Yeah,
it's a
like
good chunk of
like
people.
in the House, it was pretty even on both sides of the or Senate. It was pretty even, and in the House, all the Democrats are for it, and the Republicans were kind of split. And we got polling data from Republican voters, and it was just like 76% of Republicans approve this bill.
Yeah.
No brainer, right? And it's just like, well, it's a re-election year for them. It's
Oh yeah.
politics is it's like House of Cards in high school, right? That's the only way I can try to describe it. It's interesting.
Yeah.
It's all just I go in there. I'm not paid to be there. I'm not a registered lobbyist. Like the lobbyists use me to talk to people because I'll just go up to a representative or senator. I'm not like present and proper. I'm like, hey man, like what are your concerns? Like I'm in the industry. I'll give you a straight answer, whether it's good or bad for the bill. Like I'll tell you exactly what it's going to be, and
Yeah.
they kind of appreciate that. But we're very there's more churches per capita in South Carolina than anywhere else in the country, so that has a lot to do with it. But we did use the example of like Alabama and Mississippi went medical and we're not, and I get really upset because it's like with technology, like if we're trying to get this thing passed like pre cell phones, I can understand word of mouth, but it's just like
Yeah.
we have I asked them like why do you think it's bad, and they go through all this stuff and be like, okay, like what if I can show you a YouTube video of Richard Nixon saying exactly why he made it a category or a Schedule 1 drug, right, for political gain and get people arrested. All right, so it's just like I can show you exact wordage, quotes, all this stuff of like the reason why cannabis is illegal now. And down here,
Yeah.
we start using the phrase "make cannabis legal again." Right? It was legal before. There's just this. We went through
Yeah.
prohibition for what reason, and um, I don't know. It's also like people here are scared to talk about cannabis too, which is a weird thing. Because they're
Well, no, I
afraid
mean
that
that's
the
part of
cops.
it, though. I mean,
Mhm,
yeah, it's part of it, though. I mean, that's part of the transition, right?
mhm,
You're trying to go from illegal and black market and underground to legal and accepted and above ground, and there's this whole time frame in between where it's just really dirty water, and you can't really sort everything out. You don't know who you can really talk to or who you can't talk to, and so and people tend to not want to be confrontational if it's gonna cause them any kind of, problems in their life. It's the whole cancel culture bullshit.
Hmm.
Oh, I don't say anything because I don't want those fucking people to just defriend me on Facebook. Fuck those people, man.
Yeah, like
Be
I
you.
had people where I was like, if I'm up there all the time. If you want to write a letter, like I'll hand deliver it to whoever your legislator is to like make sure it gets there because I'm up there like twice a week, and they would write
Yeah.
me these letters and send them to me, and I'm like, are you going to put your name and address on it? And they're like, well, I don't want the cops coming to my door, and I'm like, first of all, we're in a day and age where you can talk about like killing the president online. Talking about cannabis is nothing. And I'm like, if you think you're gonna get arrested, I'm getting fucking arrested before you. And before I get
Yeah.
arrested, all the senators that voted yes on that bill are getting arrested before you. So like, what are you being scared about?
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
it's a
Yeah, but
stigma,
I mean,
that was
it's the
made.
whole thing. It's the job or my neighbors or the church or whatever it is, man.
Yeah.
You know, it's just people really have a hard time, moving forward and evolving or changing their kind of perspective. And then what's interesting is like it takes a lot of pressure on one side and it builds up and then all of a sudden, it starts to move and then all of a sudden it just boom, flips.
Yeah. It was like, oh wait, it's
And you're
not
like,
that
oh,
bad. Okay.
it's not that bad, right? And then everybody's
Hmm.
on board. Oh yeah, I'm always about cannabis, but that and then they'll be go the other way where they're like, you must smoke cannabis, and then you're like, whoa, time out, too far. Let's
Yeah.
just keep right in the middle. Let's make it a choice for everybody to be able to use it if they want to. Let's go right into normal, but it kind of goes back and forth, and this pendulum of it is fucking insane, especially in politics. And
Yeah.
you're struggling because if you're talking about an election year, you're going to get screwed. There's just no way. There's no way that anybody's going to do anything controversial in an election year because they care more about being elected than they care about anything that they're going to do
Yeah.
for you.
We
Most of
we
those people.
had we had I had specific politicians. I said they said I would vote yes, but I want to vote yes, but the guy I'm running against in the primary is super against it, and I'm afraid he's going to win those votes. And I'm just like, okay, all right, sure, all right, whatever excuses, go ahead.
Yeah. But there's something
It's a
really wrong
wild
with our
game.
system in that regard. It's
Yeah.
so interesting. I was going through a FDA short or emergency use permit for a PPE cleaning machine that we invented
Hmm.
during the initial months of COVID. That was on TV and everything. People were checking out like, "Oh, this is such a great idea." I was like, "Yeah, it's a fucking great idea."
Hmm.
It just got buried in the FDA. So we're starting through the emergency process, mind you. They like every couple weeks, we're like, "Oh, hey, where are we at? Oh, can you resubmit that paperwork?" I'm like,
Yeah.
just re-hit send on that email again. How's that? Oh yeah, we got it. Cool, cool, cool. Hey, can you guys do that again? Resubmit that paperwork. Like, fuck you guys,
Yeah, it's
man.
it's it's
You
it's
know?
it's so time consuming, and like I know, like when I was in the military, like the one thing, like whenever it came anything paperwork wise, like I know you probably had chiefs and stuff where it was like, well, I only sign paperwork on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and needs to be on my desk by this certain time. I would do the thing where I would like show up to the office and just be like, hey, can you sign this? Well, I don't do that. I'm like, all right, well, I'm just gonna stand outside your door until you sign it
I'll
for
wait.
me. All right,
I'll wait.
yeah,
I'll
I'll
wait till
wait.
Tuesday.
Yeah. And it's
Fuck you guys.
unfortunately that's what we got to do. And I don't know, like the bill, like the most disheartening thing was when the bill got floored was all the opposition people like cheering and clapping that the bill died. And it was so disheartening. Just like
Yeah.
I'm like, I wish you can go to these veteran groups I go to and speak to these 80-year-old dudes that just like, I don't want to be doing this illegal anymore. That's the only thing that helps. I don't want to be doing it illegal anymore. And that like
Yeah.
one of their other
It's
tactics,
really
speaking
interesting
of
because
paperwork, was they put, because you have to read through every single amendment. So the person that shot the bill down put 900 amendments on the table to get read, just to slow it down to run out of time. There's so many weird little games.
It's
It's
just it is. It's all. It's
Yeah,
so politics is it's blood sport. They play for
exactly.
keeps and it's brutal. Those guys that were voting no next year, if they're out on a cycle, they'll all be voting yes. Problem is
Mm,
the guys who voted yes may be in a cycle, and you gotta worry about those guys whether they're gonna vote no or yes. So
mm,
you're just gonna deal with it. It'll shift. It'll happen. I mean, the first referendum is usually the hardest one, and it's just going to take a little bit more time. I'm sorry it didn't work this time.
yeah.
They're
No,
missing out on
we got it
opportunity.
next year
You
because
know,
next essentially we're gonna make sure we get certain people in and out, and then I
yeah,
think out of 120 25 people, if it was the year before, we would have had 85 yes votes, and then this year we barely had like 51 or 61 or whatever it was, or yeah,
Yeah.
51. So it's just like, okay, well, it happened to fall on re-election year, so let's just do this again next year. We can wait. We'll just get ready some more and do that thing. So
Yeah,
just a never-ending
is.
fight.
And then the other side of it is once it does go legal, is what's wrapped around that. You get it done and you get it won, and the bills, written so that only certain guys get licenses, and the normal average guy can't get one because he
Yeah.
doesn't have enough liquid asset or he doesn't
Yeah,
have
our bill,
enough,
it's
whatever. And
15
I think,
farmers.
one of those things that
Yeah, it
here,
makes no. I wish they would have found me before, but it's 15 farmers and 30 processors, and I'm just like, how? Okay, well, I'm like, if we look at the hemp
what the
program in the
fuck?
state, there's like over 150 farmers and like 13 processors. So I'm like, can we at least flip those numbers? Um, and I was like doing the numbers for them. I'm
Right.
like, because there's no flower in our bill either, and it's just like, and it's all indoor, and it has to be
Yeah.
indoor. And I'm like running up cost. I'm running up like
What
costs
the
of like
fuck?
what it costs to run indoors, how much it makes, to make a kilo of distillate, and I'm like, this is a rich person's product if we only have 15 farmers at maxed out at that.
Yeah.
So
Well, not only is it a rich person's product, but it's a rich person's game. I mean,
mm,
if you have to grow indoors, the cost of building out to do that is what's gonna, that's gonna inhibit
yeah,
a lot of people's opportunity, right? I mean, it's just anti-competitive in that respect. And I think, I think in Vegas they did, I don't know, or some fucking stupid number like, I don't know, $500,000 or $1 million in liquid assets. I'm like, what in the fuck, man? I mean, come on, dude. That's just that, that's not offering opportunity, right? That's creating narrow banded opportunity for certain people, and classifying this as going to be run
yeah.
and owned by X
That's like in
class of people.
like I know
And
Oklahoma. I'm friends with a couple of people in their industry association, and they're because another part we have people that are against it, and we have people that are like it's too restrictive. I'm like, I understand it's too restrictive, but let's at least get our foot in the door, right? Show people that the world's not going to end. And it's the same thing where, like, I know for to have a medical dispensary, it's like you have to have the lease already, have a letter from the landlord saying you can do it before you even apply. So it's just like, okay, so you're expecting that person to commit themselves to this huge financial risk, not plus the $50,000 to just apply. And it's just like, what person has that? Like I did at the time, like I don't. I mean, to an
yeah,
extent, I still don't have that, but I mean, yeah,
no, I mean that's stupid amount of risk money for, that kind of an opportunity. I think, we see this in California. You see the way California has fucked their regulations so bad. I mean, the way that they manage their licensure, the way that they manage their taxation,
hmm
it's just absolutely asinine. And that's generally, my opinion is that that's how government works, because most government people don't know shit about running a business. They don't know shit about what it takes to actually manage, a business, or how to be profitable, or any of the other valuable things that go with business. And so what they
hmm
do is they go, well, it's magic money because cannabis is worth $20 billion a pound. So we're just going to take this much out of it. And you go, okay, listen, you can't base any commodities price, and structure it around that given price today, because that just isn't how commodities work. You got to look at it like, okay, well, we can do a heavy license fee, we can do some heavy
hmm
taxation, but you got to be realistic. It can't be based on unobtainable numbers, and I think everybody signed off initially in California. They just signed off on it because it was like, well,
hmm
there's plenty of money here, right? Well, that's asinine too. So it goes two ways. You let the people that you elect make the rules without getting involved, and thank God you're involved, because at least maybe there's some reason going to be injected here. But if the people who are elected make the rules, all they're looking at is money, and they don't look at anything about viability. They don't do any cost studies. They don't do any production studies. They don't do any analysis of the industry or the market or anything. They don't look outside their state. They're not looking at failed models. They're just driving down the road of like, okay, well, if we do this, we're gonna, it's cannabis, so we're going to get a lot of money out of it. So let's make the licensing fees high, and then let's get the taxation up there, and let's make it so that we have to make sure that they're going to be successful. Blah blah blah, and it's just a fucking big ball of
Yeah,
crap when
especially in
it gets
Cali,
done, and
because
then
like I
you get
use
to the end of it.
California as an example of
Yeah.
like how not to do it in a way, because like I've been pretty far taken out of it for a
Oh
while,
yeah,
but like,
for sure.
if we have an effective tax rate on the consumer of like 35%, and we wonder why the illicit market's larger than the commercial market, it's like, well, yeah, like I don't like that's like if I
Booming,
buy 5/8 or if I
booming.
buy 4/8, that's an extra eighth I'm buying that I'm not getting, right? So just I tell them here, I'm
Right.
like, whenever we go to rec here, which is not going to be for a while, but it's like you have to keep the total tax like less than like 17.5% if you want to do that. Because if anything above that, people would be like, well,
Yeah.
you know what, my dude down the street can give me some free, yeah, yeah. So
My man,
yeah,
I gotta
exactly.
pay
And it's
your
just like
number.
that's not, there's so many ways not to do it, and especially that's what you're saying. Like if they're a career politician, it's just like, I look at them, I'm like, cool, thank you for your public service, but like like let alone run a business, like you've never worked in a business, so like you don't know how they like all you know is just like, we want to
Yeah.
do these social programs, so let's just tax the hell out of that to get money to go for that, and then we'll just make up the rest as we
Yeah.
go.
Yeah. Yeah. It's crazy, man. Politics is brutal, and I mean the federal government just leads by the
Hmm.
worst example you could possibly imagine, and in the local governments they get caught up in these ideas of this endless money flow, and money isn't endless. It's it keeps going, but it's not endless
The
in that
effects of it
respect.
right now,
We're
yeah,
seeing the
literally.
effects of stupidity right now,
And
like,
it's just
and
going to get
we're still
worse
spending money
too. And I try to tell
places
people, I'm
like
like,
the
just
Ukraine.
prepare yourself,
Yeah,
stop
it's
going
gonna
out to
get
eat
worse.
because it's going to get worse.
Yeah, yeah, it's
But
gonna get worse, buddy. So I mean, yeah, it's crazy. But listen, I mean, that's a pretty interesting segue for you though to kind of be
mhm.
launched into the political spectrum of it. Do you think that there's like
Me,
life in
no.
politics
Like
coming, man? I
I've had it
mean,
offered, but it's for me. It's just like, well, I can't hold a license if I do that. Like there has to be no like our law, like our bills do have a lot of good stuff in it. Like there has to be so many degrees of separation from someone in whether the legislation or DHEC to like own or be a part of a business, which is what I like. And then I like another with some other states, they'll be like, hey, it's legal, and it's like 3 years and there's nothing really implemented. So like one thing we had to do, well, I'll say Jill and all them that wrote the bill, was they put timelines in there of like this has to be done by this many months out. We start taking applications, 6 months out, because if we didn't put that in there, people that have the power to be like, no, we're just gonna put this keep kicking this can down the road. They'll do that, hands down.
yeah,
It's, I mean, it is interesting.
yeah,
I would have never thought like I'd be driving down the road one night going home, and Jill Swing, she's the lady it's her bill. She wrote the things. Her daughter has epilepsy really bad. She's been doing this for 8 years, and she was like, hey, one of the senators has a because the question came up during debate of like the one guy was just like, well, I know there's like 12 different strains. Do we know which of those 12 strains help with what condition? And I'm sitting there, I'm like 12,000 strains? Like, is that what he meant? And I remember talking to one of the senators. I explained like wave top terpenes and how we can like do that. And he's like, so the senator's gonna call me, and the senator calls me. I'm like, what's going on, senator? Do that. He's like, explain terpenes to me. I'm like, you got 30 minutes or 3 hours? So 3 hours go by, and he's just like, interesting.
yeah.
And like, I remember I talked to a House rep, and he was just like, why do we need cannabis when there's THC in hemp plants already? I was like, explain. And he was like, don't you guys have to like burn off the THC to make it legal? And I'm like, who told you this? Someone that's in the hemp industry. I'm like, they're not in the hemp industry.
They're not- they might have been in sugar
Yeah, I'm
back when
like,
they were
maybe
burning
they're talking
sugar
about
cane.
like,
I don't know.
butane, and when they're making something, I'm like, I don't really know exactly what you're talking about, but no, it has to be within this thing through the whole process. And the way I look at it is for most of them, like on a state level, like those are all part-time jobs. Like they show up,
Yeah,
4 months out of the year, 3 days a week, and they all have their own businesses and stuff like that. So I try to at least think like I'm about
yeah,
to debate and vote a bill that I literally know nothing about until 2 days before, and I read up on it and listen to whoever's going to tell me anything about it, and then go from there. So I try to give them that grain of salt of, meanwhile I'm over here like my brain's exploding with like, all right, you need to know that, you need to know that to make this work.
Well, I mean, that brings up a really good point, though. I mean, and this is a
Mm,
big part of what the failing of government is. I mean, you've got people who aren't educated, nor could they be. I mean, look at the amount of bills and bullshit they've got to deal with, and the subject matter they've got to understand, right? The problem is that we can't, the bills are being written by people that may or may not know, and that's the other part of
mm,
it. So it's tough, man. I mean, I wouldn't want to be in politics. I'm a
mm.
more of a live and let live type of guy, and like, oh, okay, well, this is really fucked up. Maybe we should not do that anymore. Not the other way where I don't think we should do
Yeah.
anything because
I
everything could
mean,
be
like the
dangerous.
one, like I was kind of debating that the other day, like if I'm going to keep being as active as I was, because it does take a lot of time away from my business, right? And I have like I should have been completely
Yeah,
planted with all my stuff outside by now, but I'm halfway there just because that's 2 days a week, and usually that third day I'm like veg, right? Because I'm just like if you got to talk to people that don't understand you for 2 days straight, it's just like, oh, okay, let's recover a little bit. But it's kind of it's
you need a
yeah.
you need a video that you can just point them to. Everything
I
you
mean,
need to
it's kind
know
of putting
about
me in a really
cannabis.
cool
Click.
position because I do these like every time we're up there on our page, we put up a reel and we just talk about, this is where the bill's at right now. And because of that, a
Yeah,
lot of South
yeah,
Carolinians, like we had a couple big Instagram pages locally push us. And I remember one day like checking the Instagram, I'm like, how did someone share it? Like, how did we get 25,000 views on that? Right. And it's just like, and because of that, like, especially the last couple of weeks, we've just had this huge influx of people like, keep doing what you're doing. Like, let us know how
that's
we can help.
great.
And we're like, this is how you find a legislator, call them, do this and that. And because of that, it's almost like they're, when we launch my product line, probably at the end of this month, like a lot of people are really looking forward to that. Because we're like, we do collaboration
Yeah,
strains with a couple breweries, which is trying to get to that crowd, associating ourselves with non-cannabis
yeah,
industry stuff, and like the one like
yeah.
because
That's
we use
great.
their name and the guy that owns it, Ross. I was just like, what percentage of sales do you want? He was just like, honestly, like if you come up the north, as long as you come up to North Carolina when the time's right, like keep all the money, just use that to help you guys do all this advocacy stuff. And I'm just like, and like I always said, I'm a big,
Nice.
my dad made me religiously watch the Blues Brothers back in the day. And when that happened, I was just like,
Yeah.
we're on a mission from God. Yeah.
No one can
We
stop
got a
us,
half a tank
baby.
of
That's
gas,
it.
some sunglasses on at night, and we're on a mission from God.
That's it.
Mm,
That's right. That's so fun. That's a great show. Great movie. Um, wow, man. I mean, listen, I think the political crusade is a brutal crusade for anybody, but I mean, um, you were obviously tried by fire in the
mm.
military, so you'll be all right. Keep up the good work on that. What else you want to do? I mean, if you're not going to go into politics yourself, I mean, then you're just going to be a hemp farmer, and when cannabis comes in,
Yeah,
you're going to switch
I
over to
want to
cannabis.
be one of the first people. I mean, luckily with our bill, they also take in like a social credit thing of, what makes it better. And, I got it's kind of weird as a veteran. Like, I never do the veteran thing. If I'm at a baseball game, like, veterans, please rise. I never do that. But unfortunately, here, the only way I could get politicians to listen to me is if I wave the veteran flag. So of course, for the permits, I'll be doing
Yeah,
that. But I want to be full integrated. I don't want, I just want one dispensary, right? And that's the store. In there we have like one
yeah.
indoor grow, and that's a strain that's only grown there, and you can only buy it there, kind of a thing. And we got like a mixed use center. I think there's a lot of really cool ways we can incorporate the Carolina, South Carolina, Charleston culture. And like I've said a lot, like when it comes to advocacy stuff, like you can't use other states' models. We have to use our own image.
What I was saying right there was like, yeah, it's this whole thing like, oh yeah, no, it's a free country, it's free freedom of speech unless you're saying what I don't believe in, or you're not saying what I believe, and then it's no longer freedom, it's like you're wrong, so you
Mm.
need to be shut up and ostracized, and it's bullshit, um, you know. this is how bad societies are built on that kind of restriction. It's got to be open to debate in my mind, and at least the opportunity. You know, that's what we're doing. We're trying to build a better place for all of us. And if you're not able to come to the table on something like cannabis, that's asinine. I mean, the fact that it's taken this long is crazy. But I mean, a lot of people paid a big heavy fucking price for this to happen, and some people are still paying it. I'm sure
Yeah.
there's people paying it in your state still daily. Because
Oh,
of criminality.
I went I've never went full Karen in my life until this past 420. We were the on 420 the bill hit the House floor, and I had a lunch break. I had to go do payroll, so I went to a coffee shop. I'm up in Columbia, and I went to like the little downtown area, and I had like 30 minutes before session started. And I luckily, I only did this because I knew the people, but like all the CBD stores, I was just like, I wonder if they're saying anything. I know they're doing 420 sales, and it's a business, do it, make your money. But I was like, I wonder if they're doing anything about advocacy, anything about the bill. And I checked all their Instagrams. There was nothing. And I remember I was just pissed off that day. And I went into the one store. I was like, so you guys, do you guys know where our cannabis bill is? They're like, oh, we have a cannabis bill? And I remember just reeling into them. I'm like, you guys should be fucking ashamed of yourselves. I'm like, by all means, make your money, but like, not even a mention to like, by the way, it's still illegal, and people are going to go to jail like tonight for something
Yeah,
for off a culture that you're making money off of. So, and
yeah,
there was a bunch of parties I went to. It wasn't really, you know, to me, it's like if we're going to celebrate a holiday in like an illegal state, like just let all that money go to getting people out of jail. So like next year, after they're kind of lame parties anyway, so we're going to
yeah,
throw our own party, and it's just going to be like, we pay for costs, and all the money after that is going to, law firms here helping dudes fight cases to get out for, whatever, if it's a pound or whatnot, just because it's, and I think through that, that's like my way of giving. And then like the universe always had this weird way of giving back. Right.
yeah.
So, I don't know, I can, I get pretty heated now. I've never been that kind of a guy, but it's just like, I don't know, it's,
Well, come on, man. I
yeah,
mean, it doesn't make any sense, dude.
yeah.
Anytime you run into something that's fucking going against your basic moral code of this is wrong,
Hmm.
this is okay, but this is really wrong. Yeah,
Hmm.
you get frustrated and you get a little irritated about it, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think that spurs a lot of good positive action, right? I mean,
Hmm.
it drives you forward. You may have said something to 10 different people. One of those guys might have been, hey, dude, that fucking guy had something. That's right. I need to get
Hmm.
involved, And that may be the guy that helps push it over next time. You never know. So it's, you got to, my opinion, stay true to what you believe, stay true to
Hmm.
yourself in it. I'm not forcing anybody else to believe what I believe. You don't want to, I'm good with it. You live your life, man. But don't come telling me how to live mine, right? And don't come
Exactly.
telling me that your way is my way. That's not the truth about it, right? We live our lives, and you do your thing, and you be, as long as we're not doing things that are taking advantage of or hurting other people. I think that then live and let live. But I don't. Most people are like, no, man, you got that's just wrong, or it's right, or it's blah blah. And you're just like,
Yeah.
yeah, shut up, man.
And it kind of goes back to what you're saying about like the canceling. My thing is, I'm never like, there's a couple things I don't like, but I'm never going to get in between a way a person feeds their family, right? So I'm never going to like do that. But
Yeah,
it's also like, just be open to like learning something different. Like, okay, like we've been
yeah,
told that this has been bad for years. Like,
yeah,
just because we have, you know, thousands of scientific journals proving that it helps people and it's not bad, and we have, endless evidence showing that it was purposely made criminalized. Like, don't just sit there and be like, well, I've always been told it's bad. I'm like, just keep an open mind, right? Just
yeah,
like at least just like don't force that on other people. It's kind of going back to what
yeah.
you're saying. It's just,
Yeah,
I tell
I mean
people
that's
I
human
change my
nature.
mind. I change my mind all the time. All right. I'm the opposite of
Well,
that. Like, you show me
you're
something
you're an
different, I'm like,
exception to the rule,
yeah.
man. That's it takes a lot. I know I have very dogmatic views on certain things, and
Mm,
I get that about myself, but I'm okay with that. But I'm not going to take my dogma and shove it down your throat
mm,
because honestly, we're not going to get along then. right?
Yeah.
And it doesn't really matter, right? Because A, I don't run a country, and B, I barely run a company, so I mean, that's just not, it's
I
not my
felt that.
fucking
I feel
style.
that.
It's fucking hard enough, right? I don't need to be thinking about being the president, man. Fuck that shit. I wouldn't do that for
Mm-mm.
nothing. But
Yeah,
but yeah,
they,
man, it's well, I don't know. When I fought for it, I mean, I was in the Navy, so I wasn't forward deployed or anything. I was a support guy. But when I fought for what I fought for, what I thought I was fighting for, even though we were over in the Middle East doing that bullshit over there, what I thought was that we were fighting for this principle of freedom. And then I really started to learn what freedom was, and I go, okay, well, it's not really freedom; it's more like liberty, right? So
mm,
liberty is a bunch of opportunities to do things within your own personal, like, desires and wills and wants that are not going to infringe on other people, right? Freedom is like without boundary, right? And I love that concept too, but there has to be some boundary with humans, otherwise we
mm.
just fuck everybody over. So, so
Yeah,
liberty, it's all like, oh, okay, liberties, right? But it just seems like every time I turn around, somebody's trying to take that shit away, and I didn't. That's not what I did. What I did for, and that's not what I believe in, and it frustrates me to no end to see people not open to at least have a conversation. Instead they're shouting you down, or they're repeating something that's a mantra to them, and they don't actually have any basis for what they're saying, or why they're saying it, and they're not educated in it, and so you can't have a debate about it. And I'm not trying to change your mind about it. I just want to know, why is it you
why?
believe that,
Yeah.
and why is it you believe that what I'm saying is wrong? Then we can have a conversation. But until you are willing to do that, then you're just yelling at me, right? It's like
Yeah.
reading one of those,
It's
those headline websites and think you know what the news is. You're like, you're a fucking moron.
yeah,
You read
like
every headline,
South
right?
Carolina is like one of the most patriotic states, I think, and it is nice. Like I love my country, nothing
Yeah,
against that, but it's for me, it's just like I hear someone say we're the best country on earth, and be like, all right, can you explain that? Like,
yeah,
tell in your opinion why we the best country on earth? Because like
yeah,
I know, when I was, because so I was Marine Infantry Company, Afghanistan, right? Like literally, no running water, no toilets, no showers, like, and a sidebar, right? They were growing Kush everywhere, and it was beautiful, and like it was kind of like communal gardens. Like we'll be sitting there watching, and people just walk by, clip some, go home, right, minding their own business, and I think it was like a month in Afghanistan. I was just like, I went from like, oh, we're here to help and this and that, and like a month or two when I was just like, what the fuck are we doing here? I was just like, yeah, okay, they're growing opium, which they sell to the Taliban, and that gives them money to do things. But now it's just like, all right, don't grow opium, grow corn or grow wheat. And it's just like all these families care about is growing enough product at whatever sells the highest, which is opium, right, to
yeah,
feed their family, to make it through winter, to do it all again the next year. And I'm like,
yeah,
why are we coming in here trying to change the whole system? Like they've been doing that for millions of years. We're just gonna show up and try to instill that. And
yeah.
I mean,
Well,
unfortunately, like what
I mean,
happened?
come on, man. We gotta sell weapons. That's a big deal.
Oh yeah.
It's a big
Well,
it's a
that
big
was
advertisement, man.
yeah, that was like the whole ISIS thing. I was just like, yeah, we left all that stuff in Iraq for targets, so when we go back in there, we have something to blow up the next
Yeah,
time.
we have something to shoot at.
Just to sell them more stuff.
Do you, so as now that you're out, I mean, are you a gun guy, or like I'm a gun guy. I love guns. I mean, I'm all about them. I think they're the coolest thing ever. Guns and cars. Come on, man. What's
Yeah,
better than that?
absolutely. I'm a huge Formula One fan. I love racing
Really? Yeah, me too.
cars. Yeah. What'd you think of the Miami race? Besides, it was boring.
Well, I mean, I'm kind of a Verstappen fan.
Me
I
too.
think he's pretty
Okay.
baller. Yeah, and he's such an interesting cat. I like to watch him race. I love what's going on with him and Leclerc right now.
Hmm.
It's a much more interesting duel. But Formula One is like it's so segregated, right? You have three teams
On
and
the
then
top.
everybody else.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's it. Like no one else is poking their head into that
Yeah.
area
Well, at
ever.
least at least this year is a lot better
Yeah,
than the last couple of
yeah,
years. And
yeah,
I think what they're doing, like I hate to say it, like it's like Formula One and then the hemp industry, are like the only places that need more regulation. You'll never hear me say that again. But it's like I like what they're doing in Formula One because they're putting caps on how much the big teams can spend to make it closer. And
Yeah.
like the beginning of the year, like I love Norris and Ricardo. They're just like
Yeah.
the two happiest people to be there, and they're funny. And like Norris,
Yeah.
whenever he
Yeah. Yeah.
wrecks,
They're pretty cool guys.
whenever he wrecks, he makes a meme about it. Like what is not funny about that, right? And they looked really them and Haas looked really strong in the beginning, like the first race,
Yeah,
and then
I
they
mean, I
they
love
pet her
Haas,
back.
right? Haas is the American story, right? I mean,
Yeah.
I dig the team. I met them, I actually when I came to Las Vegas, they were one of the companies that was coming to Las Vegas, and there was 5 companies coming. Mine was one of them. I'm the tiniest little company. 3
Hmm.
aerospace companies, one aerospace and 2 aircraft and parts companies, and Haas America. And
Yeah.
there's little old me.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah,
No, I'm
Haas,
really
and then of
interested
course,
for the Vegas race next year. That just, I mean,
yeah.
I don't know. I was looking at the layout and I'm like, a little bit better sweeping corners for speed, but it's just like, just something
Yeah.
about going down the strip at night, all the lights going. I'm like that. It's gonna be really
Oh my
expensive, but
gosh, dude.
I'm going to that. Like that's a once in a life.
At
But that
215 miles an hour?
yeah. I
Oh
mean
my
I mean
god.
I
And the
think
way those things sound?
F1 bought like acres near the strip
Yeah,
to build the paddock. So I mean that's going to be there for a long time. So that'd be cool to
yeah.
see.
It's
But
exciting. They're talking about the bridges in Vegas that go over the strip.
oh, they have
They're
to
talking
cover
about
them.
yeah, well, they're talking about having those be seating area too for the race. So you would be buy tickets so that you could be on those because it's right over the top of the race.
Mm.
Like, I'm
No,
like, yeah, fuck, yeah, give me those seats, man.
have you been to any races except like the U.S.?
No, I haven't. I haven't been. I've never been. I just started following Formula One 3 years ago,
Oh, okay,
and I have a car. I drive. I go to track days and do that kind of stuff.
that's cool.
I fancy myself a driver. I'm not a driver, but I like cars and I like to
I like to
drive.
go fast.
Yeah, I like to go real fast, man. Hit the corners really hard.
Yeah.
But yeah, uh, I mean, I'd get one of those cars and I wouldn't even get it to move, but. I just find it so fascinating because it's the penultimate, like, right? It's the top of the top because
Hmm.
it has a certain level of unlimitedness, but that does definitely segregate that field, and you kind of want more competitiveness, but then you don't want to dumb down the abilities of you know of a Mercedes or a Red Bull to just go all the way out because they're doing stuff that's fucking phenomenal.
Hmm. No, I
It's
always
pretty
tell
cool.
people,
So
like people that don't
yeah,
understand, I'm like, you have to understand those cars are spaceships with wheels, and like they have to build it, the
yeah,
downforce, to keep them on the ground because they're going so fast. And like the way they make
yeah, it's insane.
their brake rotors is literally like they shoot carbon and like one of those particle accelerator things until it sticks because it gets so hot, like normal brakes would just melt and blow up. And and like and then the cool thing is too, it's just like the cool thing about racing is because we're such a car world is things we're seeing in F1 now are going to be standard in cars like 10 years from now. So that's why like Formula E is huge and you got like Porsche and them
Right.
going into it because all that R&D money they're putting into it, they're going to see that in their cars later on, which most people don't understand that. But that's what makes it fascinating. It's just like sitting there like ERS, okay, ERS was like probably where the battery technology came from for electric cars back when they first started doing it like 10 and something years ago. Um, no, yeah,
Yeah.
car racing and motorcycle racing, and then shooting. If
I
you like
like
shooting,
riding motorcycles,
yeah, yeah. If you like shooting,
but
I
I
got
don't I
tons of
don't
deer that need to die on the property. They keep eating all my stuff, so please come down and
I'm
help me.
coming out, man.
Yeah,
I'll come out in a minute. I'll shoot them. I'll shoot them all day long.
yeah.
I'm happy to do it. Yeah. No, I mean, yeah, that'd be great. I actually like venison too, so that's a good double bonus. But
Hmm.
yeah, I was just wondering, guys. I just noticed that the military or the army, excuse me,
Hmm.
finally awarded their contract to
Over Sig.
yeah, to Sig, and I have that. I have their smaller, their gun they put out, the what is it, the Virtus, whatever. Love it, absolutely love it. What a
Hmm.
difference between that and an AR. So I think they did a great job picking that rifle, and I'm like, I want to buy one. I can buy one, but they're just a little over the price of where I want to
Yeah.
spend. You know?
Their short barrel, that new cartridge with the short barrel and that really funky looking suppressor on it. I was watching,
Yeah,
for me, I do whatever I do at night, and I sit up and watch YouTube and just watch like One day it's like the new Army's SIG guns, and the next day it's like what's a rainbow lobster, right? Okay, let's watch this for 30 minutes. But it's really interesting how like you have to have such a long barrel, but with a short barrel, kind of like with a 10-inch M4, right? You're losing all that speed, and the suppressor. I don't remember the science behind it, but it's kind of like a 300 blackout in a way where it's slow
Yeah.
enough, but it still has that punch power when it gets there.
Yeah. Yeah. So I got my first suppressor because I'm in Vegas, and it took a year, but
Yeah,
man, I'm just like, dude, what the hell is wrong with people that they think that this is some evil thing? It's the coolest freaking gun ever, man. You can sit there
perception.
and shoot it without ear protection on. I mean,
Yeah.
I wouldn't do it all day, but it's a stunning difference. It's such a cool toy.
Hmm.
It could save my life someday too, but it's a cool toy.
Yeah. Oh, man, I think like Nevada is pretty.
That gun that I have.
No, go ahead. Sorry.
Go ahead.
I will say like
Yeah, I
Vegas
said
is very.
that gun.
I'll keep doing it. It's a slight delay, but what I was saying is like Nevada is very similar to like South Carolina, where it's just like, what do you want? That one? All right, let me look at your driver's license. That's you? Okay, cool. But like we always say, like
Yeah,
an ATF party, like you can get your tobacco in the Walmart with your gun, but in South Carolina, liquor and beer can't be sold in a grocery store or in a store. It has to be a separate store attached, and it can't say liquor store. It's three red dots. So like you have like you could probably buy everything in one store. I have to buy gun ammo and like cigars in one, but I have to like exit the store and go in the next door,
to
before
get a beer.
7 p.m. and not on before 7 p.m. and not on Sundays.
Not on Sunday.
Yeah, you can't buy liquor on Sundays.
Oh god, yeah, that's funny, man. There's so many fucking stupid laws, but whatever. Well, listen, Cody, it was pretty cool, man. It's a good conversation. I appreciate you filling us in on everything that you guys are going through down there.
Mhm.
And we're gonna when we get done here, Marco will post up your information, whatever you want him to put on there.
Cool.
And if you want a link or to your website or how people can contact you if they want to support or whatever, it's totally legit. Um, I mean, I enjoyed it. Maybe we can do it again sometime. I'd love to come out and help you remove some of your deer. That wouldn't be too bad.
Oh, hopefully I'll have for the future expanding. I'll have my own set of property, and luckily the country island I'm on, we don't have any pigs. Thank goodness. We just have deer problems. But if I go off the island, we'll have pigs, and that'll be another. Then
Oh
it's
man, pigs are everywhere.
yeah. I'm very very fortunate that where we're at right now, there's no pigs. It's just 50 deer.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
they just destroy it. Yeah, I mean deer are tough on cannabis and hemp, but pigs destroy everything, man. They just
Yeah,
destroy everything.
yeah, I got like 8 foot of electrical fence, for stuff to make them. I'll literally watch them on a security camera, just like walk up to the fence, they'll sniff, they'll go, oh, I like that, and they'll just hump 8 feet
Just don't.
over, yeah, or they'll just push through the fence and ruin it and just deal with it. I'm like, this is cool.
Yep.
Hmm.
It's not like you can do anything about it either. They're just gonna keep coming.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
yeah. Anyway, man, thanks, man. I appreciate the conversation. Thanks again for your service, man.
Hmm.
And you have my contact email. Feel free to reach out anytime. If you find yourself in Vegas, I want you to come out and visit the shop. If there's any way we can support you, just let us know.
Cool.
We have some social outreach. We can connect you on there too. So it's all good stuff.
Yeah, I'll actually be in Vegas end of the month, and then I'll hit you up about
Yeah.
Texas, the Austin race this year. I haven't been there in a couple of years, so
Oh my
might
gosh,
be
dude.
might be time to go
Yeah.
back.
I mean, if you're gonna do that, I'd love to go with somebody because I don't think my wife would be into going, but I'd love to go. I don't care what it
I
costs.
know.
I just want to
I've,
go
I've
see
been
it.
there long enough where like the last year I was there, I was in this bar, and Lewis Hamilton and his brother and his mother walked in. Right. So I went up to him, shook his hand, and I was wasted. I
Nice.
ended up dancing with his mom, and I don't know. I was like, this is the moment I could break Lewis Hamilton's legs right now. But Mercedes got Assassin, so I'm not doing that.
That's right. Get that fucking Mercedes out of here.
Yeah.
Awesome, man. All right. So I think that when you leave, when you hit the Leave Studio, just leave the browser on until it tells you that it's done, because it's going to upload everything. And like I said, Mark will reach out to you with email for what we need to provide. And it probably won't go live for a couple of weeks because I think we've got a couple behind, but we'll let you know when it does.
Okay, cool, man. Thank you.
So cool. All right. Thanks, Cody.
See you.
Thank you all for joining this week's podcast. You can check us out at GreenBroz.com and all the socials at GreenBroz.